Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss a topic that um, is relevant to us, and we all love talking about X and O's and you know the actual scheme of football. But as an offensive coordinator and as coaching, we know that it's not just about drawing up plays and running plays and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot more goes into it. I thought it'd be a great idea to just show you a typical week of, of what we do here in the UK and a typical week of install for a British American football team. Again, it's only my version of it, and the teams that I've been around in the 10 years that I've coached. Um, Everybody might not do the same things or be the same way. It's just it is what it is, and we coach here we coach. But this is a typical week for us in terms of install and the plan and what we do. So I thought it might be a good idea, especially with the differences in teaching times and stuff, and teaching formats and stuff. So I figured it'd be a good topic to have a quick look at. Um, Typically, the UK practice lasts between 2 to 3 hours. I have known some that have gone 3.5 hours, but spend a large portion of my own coaching career at a place where we coach for 2 hours, and that means you have to do everything a lot faster and a lot more on point. So you don't got no time to waste. Every second counts, and that usually brings out the best in you as a coach and your players as well. I've always found there's no lollygagging around, and you literally running. You emphasise, running to drills, running to things, and you put that work in, and it ends up being usually solid practices. Um, for us in the adult game, in the regular season, non-COVID era, uh, we normally get one practice per week, and it's usually from the months of January through to April when the season starts in April, and it usually accommodates in about um, 12 weeks. Now, some teams may start back before January and they'll have rookie taster sessions, which is a rookie taster session is basically for anybody that doesn't know. It's where guys who've never played a sport before come along and try their hand. They've seen it on TV, they've watched the NFL or blah, blah, blah. They want to come and get involved and see if they like it, see if they want to take the sport on. And lots of teams throughout the country will host these rookie days pre December so that when they get to January, they've got a host of rookies they can welcome to the sport. And for 9 times out of 10, if you've got no university affiliation uh, or youth team, etc., that is pretty much your lifeblood. You're relying on those lucky days to keep that club going for the next 5 to 10 years, and that's another topic of discussion for UK football. As I said there, uh, usually at best, uh, you can look to a 12-week install schedule, and our install schedules are usually dictated to what our head coach wants, and then I'll put forward my 12-week plan with the DC, and if there's anything that we figure we can cross over with, or what he wants to put first, or I want to put first, we'll normally work together to present an install schedule. So we're working on the same path and the same pattern. It's not just normally thrown out there, and if it fits, it fits. Some weeks I might say I don't care what you do, you carry on. But if there's a certain example, like if coach wants me to run trips on week 7, then I'll make my schedule fit week 7 for him to do that, and vice versa if I need something on something else. Now, how we would break down an install, it varies on where you're at and what level you're at as well. But the way I've always looked at it, the way I've always done it, is that we would break it down over those 12 weeks into one play per week. If we're teaching a new offense, if you're going to a new team, you're teaching a brand new offense to a brand new group of guys, or a rookie heavy core set, you don't want to overload their brains too much and too soon. So we say that we're going to install one play per week, and that's as much as it gets. Now, you might scoff at that and like, one practice and that, but that is what we have found as works best for us. We install one play per week, and that is it. Now, if you've been in a team longer than a season, or you're encapsulated by a lot of veteran players, then you know year 3, year 4, you can do more, and we would probably usually install um, 2 plays per week, and that might be one pass, one run, one pass, one screen, whatever we want to do. But we would do more in a shorter space of time if we'd all been at the club for longer. So if you're a second or third year and your guys already know how you're blocking this, how you're blocking that, how we're running this, our install really is just a revision of what we're already doing. so things go along smoothly. So, but if you've got a great head coach, and sometimes they might say you've got 1 hour, and you can break that hour down into whatever you like. Sometimes it may be if your head coach is he wants to do something different, he might point out that we specials are at 9:20 and so and so's at 9:40 and blah blah blah, and that's what it is. But every head coach is different, and every club is different. Um, I've always in my brain translated that through however way it's presented and however way they want to run their practices, is that we're probably going to get 1 hour as an offense to do whatever we want. So we've got 1 hour per week to run and install whatever we want to do. And as I said there, our 1 hour might look a little bit like this. So if we're starting at 9 a.m., there is no pre-practice practice, and a lot of teams do that. And we do have guys turn up early to get extra work in, but there's no official pre-practice practice because that's stupid. You're either practicing or you're not. Um, and this may actually be different because we might start with team warm up and not individuals. Again, it all depends on the turnout and etc. etc. All these things are categories that and things that we have to adversities that we have to face in the UK in terms of numbers, how things adjust each week. But in a perfect world, we're saying we're starting at 9 a.m. We may have done 8:30. We may have done team warm at 8:30. Whatever. We start our offensive hour starts at 9 a.m. So for the first 20 minutes, we'll work on individuals, and that's where our coaches will get their time with their unit, and then we'll speak. We'll speak about drills and what we want to do. But um, I've always been an advocate of letting your coaches coach. So if my coaches say we want to run this drill, and I'll stick it up here. So no, I don't want to be in their faces and you have to run this drill this week. Uh, it has to be, it has to be right. But if they want to try something, I want them to feel like they own their unit and they can do it. Okay. When it gets to 9:20, uh, after 20 minutes of individuals, we'll go into install, and it doesn't matter what that play is for that week, whether it's a pass or a run. We'll spend 20 minutes with our units singly, and we'll probably rotate the QBs through. So they'll spend half the install time with the running backs on the line, and half the install time with the receivers, and we'll rotate them through depending on how many they have. If they've got four, it's a 2-2 swap. If you've got three, it can be like a bit of an issue, but you just rotate wherever you can. And then for 9:40 and to 10 o'clock is our on-air period. And for me, this is our most important period of the practice because this is where we spend 20 minutes just running our play, especially at the start of the pre-season when you've only got one or two plays. Spending 20 minutes running our play through, rotating all of our guys through, getting as many reps to as many people as we possibly can. Because at the end of the day, we talk about repetition, and that is one of our key elements. So the more you run it, the better you get in it. So those 20 minutes of install of on-air time are very, very valuable to us. And I would hit them over pass scale, run scale. None of that stuff is more important to me than on-air. Now, the next part, which we spoke about on install and individuals, if we're installing one play, our individuals have to be install specific. So, my example there is if you're teaching a run play, our outline cannot be installing pass pro. And if we're installing a pass play, our outline cannot be installing outside zone or inside zone. We have to be in communicado. So, this is where our install plan comes into force. And so our coaches will know what they need to install that week, and their drills in the individuals will replicate the skills needed for that install that week. And that's how we quantify our time and make things as smoothly and easily as possible. Nothing's ever perfect, and we know there's going to be issues. We make it as smoothly and as gently as possible we possibly can. On top of that, we aid all of our installs with weekly online classes, either via Zoom or via pre-recorded videos, so the players know what we're going to be putting out that week before we even get to the field. They know what we're doing, how we're running it, what we want them to do, and then it becomes just a case of them getting used to the play and getting used to where they are, etc., etc. And that's how we attack it. So our teaching period for our one play per week will look something like this. And let's say our play week one is inside zone. Okay, so our O line in the indie period will work on their stance, their footwork, the blocking scheme, whether we're doing counted, uncounted, counted, or a lot we do 0, 1, 2, 3, or covered, uncovered, etc., etc. They would work on that, and our online coach would do a video for them pre-practice because inside zone is a heavy install for us, so we'll return to that every single week. Even when we're installing in week 2 and we're doing our pass pro, we will spend a portion of our individual time on inside zone and then on outside zone because we know that we only run 3 or 4 run plays and we need to be really good at inside zone. So when we say individual specifics and roles, our coaches will say, we're doing this, you're leaving that end man because we zone read on the inside zone and all those rules that go into that. At the same time, when we're doing our individuals and our install period, our running back is going to be working on his stance. He's going to be told where he's down for, the inside of the play side guard, etc., etc. We need to work on what his first step's going to be. A nice open basket, elbowing the QB in the face, all those things. His ball security, his pad level, hit the hole hard, all those things. Working into that 20-minute period so that we can go and install and then coach it up as best we can. And another thing that we've said before on Coach Connected is that we like to film as much of our practice as we possibly can, and that way we can get as many reps as possible and correct it on film down the line. At the same time as we do all this, and we obviously our QBs are half and half, so our wide receivers are working on bubble screens right now because every run play that we've got is tagged with a bubble screen or a now screen. Inside those cases, it's a bubble screen. So our receivers and our receiver coaches and our QB coaches, they'll be working on the bubble screens. Just running that bubble, and the receiver running mustache man to block, etc., etc. So basically, that is what they're running. They won't run any routes that week. It literally is going to be blocking in install period, etc., etc. When we're in indies, they can run routes. When we get to install, they're going to be doing blocking, and working on blocking, and working on that blocking scheme for that week for wide receivers. We don't just run routes in install period when we've got things to install. Our QBs do have a lot to go through every single time. So we work on obviously our stance. How we want our QBs to stand because a lot of people look at QBs to stand a certain way. We're a little bit lenient in what we do, but it is what it is. Our depth is important to us. Our footwork is how we open up at that quarter step, and then we read the numbers. Do we hand it off? Do we pass it? Pre-snap? Do we throw the football to the bubble? And then do we kick the ball if the guy crashes down? All these things are taught, and the QB does the most work in terms of one man to do for a lot of things. But if you're a QB, you expect to do that, even though it is amateur football. We still expect our QBs to act as professional as possible. And I've put there all these elements are taught in individuals, and then we rep them over and over and over there. So even if I'm not getting it quite right in individuals and in install, when we put it all together on air, we could tweak what we're doing and make, get quality reps on film that we can go over and say, this is how we want this run, etc., etc. And if a player makes a mistake, we can say, watch this back and do that and do that and do that. So we teach it on the fly, and we rep it as often as possible. The more reps you get, the better you get at it. That's what we maintain. This is a quick glimpse of our 12-week install period, and the plays don't mean nothing in particular. That they might not come in that order in real life. But this is just a thing that we would do. If it was 1 week install period, we just mix it up and go run pass. Then we'd have a review week, and we might mix in our formations or etc. But don't forget also when you're in very first week 1, you've still got to put your huddle in, you've still got to put your snap count in, you've still got to put all those mechanisms, how you're going to work that, how you're going to call the plays in. All those things take time, and you have to make sure that you put that in to your install schedule when you're doing it. And once you get to review 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we do another review at 10, etc., etc. And then you've got 12 weeks to get whatever you want to get in. After 12 weeks, we expect to play football. 12 practices. We have to be ready to play football at an efficient level to win football games, especially at the level that we're playing. At the level, at the Division One and Division Two, at Division Premiership level, we expect to win football games and compete. So after 12 weeks, we have to be ready to play. Uh, Gents, hope it was something that you enjoyed and been able to take something from it. If not, I always appreciate you guys jumping on and taking a watch. But for today, uh, thank you very much. Take care.